So you're thinking about moving to Lubbock, Texas, and maybe you want to live on some land on the outskirts of Lubbock. Well, in the last video I recently posted, it was about all a new home. I took y'all around to new home here in Lubbock. And so I wanted to talk about the pros and the cons of living in a new home, Texas. That way you can really have an understanding of, hey, why people are loving new home, what people are saying about new home. I know I kind of touched on some of those things in the vlog tour that I did about new home, but just wanted to dive a little bit deeper into the pros and the cons. So let's get started. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living in Lubbock, Texas, well then be sure to tap that bell and hit that subscribe button so that you can be the first to know about all things living in Lubbock, Texas. I get calls, texts, emails every single day with people just like you looking to make their move to Lubbock, and I absolutely love it. So if you're looking to move in 9 days or 90 days, give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. Whatever means is necessary for you and your family. I'd love to meet you and help you all make a smooth transition to the Lubbock area. So as I mentioned, we are going to talk all about new home today. Dive a little bit deeper into why people are loving it, what people are saying about it, maybe some of the cons that people are saying about it, and that way you have a better understanding of new home. So I actually want to start this video off talking about the negative about new home, because I'd love to end on a positive note, and I wanted to talk about some of the positive things that maybe I have not mentioned in my last video about new home. So stick around to the end so that you can hear some of the positives about new home. But one of the negatives that I wanted to point out that I hear a lot about people moving there or wanting to move there but worried about this is there's no grocery store. That might be a turnoff for some people. There might be like a little corner store or something where you can go and get your eggs or something for the week, but if you forgot butter, you're baking a cake and you need to run down to the store. That's the hard part. You can't just run down to the store. It'll take you about 45 minutes total back and forth to just get what you need and come back. And so you really do have to plan out your meals, have to plan out what you want, have to plan out your kiddos' lunch, if they want anything for the week. And so it just kind of takes a little bit of time to get to the grocery store. However, if you were used to a big city where it takes you 20 minutes to get to a grocery store anyway, well then, no need to worry, because that's how long it's going to take you to get to a grocery store from new home. It's not very far. It's not like you're in a whole different city. Technically you are, I guess. It's not like you're, an hour from the nearest grocery store. You're really only about 15-20 minutes away. But some people don't love that. Some people are really used to having the convenience factor of a grocery store right down the street. And so that can play a factor in moving to a new home. However, I will say, I think it's really cool that in new home, you're allowed to have horses, cows, goats, chickens, especially chickens. And so your neighbor, maybe not yourself, but your neighbor might be selling eggs from their chicken. So you might be able to get some eggs from your next door neighbor, or knock on their door and see if they're able to let you borrow some chicken eggs. Or have some chicken eggs, or maybe some milk from their dairy cow. It's awesome to be able to be that close to your neighbor. So if you are looking for like that country feel and you want to be able to have chickens or have your own livestock, well then that is a good pro about it, is because you can have those things. So the second con I wanted to talk about is not only is it further away from grocery stores, but it's also further away from restaurants and shopping centers, or also Texas Tech. Now, if you haven't checked out my vlog tour, go check it out. I'll put the link here. But I was driving, and on my way to new home, I passed 114 and Slide, and right there, they're building a new hospital. And so that's pretty awesome. You will be pretty close to that. You're about 15 minutes from there. You are closer, to some of the other shopping that's on Milwaukee and stuff. That's where Lubbock is growing. However, as far as like restaurants, if you want to go out to eat and you don't want to drive too far, maybe you want to have a couple of drinks and you don't have to worry about driving, well, there's not really a place for that in new home. There is a little restaurant called The Spot. and you can go there with your family, of course, but other than the spot, then there is not a whole lot going on in New Home with restaurants. So you do have to drive a little bit further away. So if that is something that you're worried about, then maybe New Home wouldn't be ideal for you. However, also too, if you're wanting to be closer to Texas Tech, or you want to be closer to the game days and you love going to football and you love going to basketball games, well, then you are going to be a little bit further away. That's going to be probably about a 30-minute drive and maybe a little bit less. It really just depends on the time of day that you go. We don't have a ton of traffic here, so it's not like you're going to be stuck in traffic, but Slide does get very busy, and that's the main road that you come in from a New Home. And so, if you have doctor's offices that you want to go to that are off of 19th, a lot of the medical field is off of 19th Street. So it is going to take you a little bit longer to get to town or North Lubbock than it would be, obviously, if you live closer in the city. So I just wanted to point that out as well, that you are just going to be a little bit further away from doctor's office, shopping, restaurants, anything like that, and Texas Tech. So the third con I wanted to talk about, and this might be a pro and or con, it just really depends on your family and what you were looking for whenever you moved to Lubbock, or if you have kiddos, but I just wanted to talk about how it is a smaller school system. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. And as a pro, as to why people love that it's a small school system, but I also wanted to talk about it as a con because a lot of people might be moving here from a bigger schooling system and they want to be in a 5A school. Well, New Home is just not it. It only has one school for pre-K to 12th grade, and they're divided, but it's one big school, so if you are looking for a large school system and you want to be on, your son wants to play football, or your daughter, wants to be at a large 5A school as well too, then New Home just is not the city for you. Another pro I wanted to talk about is if you're looking for an older home, you want a lot of character, you don't want the bright, airy, new open floor plan concept, then New Home also might not be for you, because most of the homes in New Home are going to be new. Of course, like I mentioned before, there are going to be existing homes. You are going to be able to find some existing, even farms too, or big houses with land, but some of them might not be updated or they might not match your style. So you don't have a plethora of homes to choose from if you are wanting an existing home, and so that might be a turnoff too, is if you are looking for an existing shop, or you want an existing barn, you want existing horse stalls, whatever it may be, it's just going to be a little bit harder to find a New Home. Of course, you can always build that on a property that you purchase, but you're not going to have as many options as you would say in other parts of the town. But not to say that there is not any. I wanted to say, there are plenty of homes in New Home or Idlewild, which is another city that I talked about. They kind of run together. You can find farmland, you can find houses that have horse stalls or barns. It really just depends on your price range and what you're really wanting. How much property, how much land you already want that's existing with those existing structures. So the last con I wanted to talk about, and this is going to be a pro too, I think, but the last con I wanted to talk about is that you are on the side of town that Lubbock is growing. And the reason why I'm thinking this might be a con for some people is because if you are really wanting to not have to worry about the expansion of Lubbock or the expansion of New Home, and you just want to be in a small town and you don't want to have to worry about tons of just businesses and commercial development coming and encroaching on you, and you just don't want to make sure that there's not going to be any highways coming in the future, well then, again, New Home might not be for you, because Lubbock is expanding south and southwest, and that's exactly where New Home is. Where Woodrow is and where 41 is and Slide 41, or County Road 1, those are all just, they run east to west here in Lubbock off the Slide. And that was considered the country once upon a time. And all that land is just being developed. It's crazy. I know a lot of the farmers don't love it. Some of the farmers love it because they can sell their land for a profit, so it just really depends on, what type of structure you're going for, what type of living you want to be involved in. If you want to be in a community that is up and coming, then this would be a great one for you. But if you just want to be in a small town, you don't want to have to worry about the expansion of commercialization or anything like that, well, then we might need to find you a different city or a different surrounding city outside of Lubbock that we don't have to worry about a ton of commercialized growth. So let's move on to the pros. I think that there are definitely more pros to a new home than there are cons. I just wanted to touch on the cons because I don't want somebody to get out there and realize that there's not any of these things there, but a lot of the times people are moving there because they want to escape a lot of the cons, right? So it really just depends on your family situation and really what you're looking for in the Lubbock area. So the first pro that I wanted to talk about is country living. I mean, if you ask anyone that moves to a new home, that's why they want to be there. They want to be away from that quote unquote bigger city, which is Lubbock. Especially if you're moving here, they just want to feel like they're part of they just want to walk out of their front door and see farmland, or they don't want to have to be within an arm's length from their neighbor. You're going to be on some land. And so a lot of people just like that because, again, it's beautiful sunsets. And if you don't know, the sunsets in West Texas are absolutely spectacular. They're amazing. But you can do the dishes, have a window that's overlooking, your yard, so it's just a lot of people love it, that it's a country feel. Going back to, you can ask your neighbors for some eggs. A lot of your neighbors will have chickens. If you don't have chickens, if you don't want to maintain them, then ask your neighbor for some eggs, because chances are one of your neighbor on your street is going to have some chickens that you can borrow some eggs from. So again, it's just a small town country feel. You're going to know everybody. They always say Lubbock is a small town country feel where you know everybody. Well, new home's even smaller. So it's a tight-knit community. And if you're looking for a close-knit community, knowing your neighbor, even if your neighbor is a couple acres away, you're going to be able to know them, and you are going to be one big community. So if you ever need anything, you really can lean on your neighbors. So the second pro is the smaller school system. I know I touched on it as a con, but I also wanted to talk about it as a pro, because a lot of people love how small the school system is. Like I mentioned, it is just one big school. I kind of drove by it in our last video, but it's just one big school from pre-K to 12. It does have like a middle school side, it does have like an elementary side and a high school side. However, if you just want that really just close-knit community with your school as well, well, then this school is it for you and your family, especially if you're wanting just more one-on-one teacher to student ratio. The teacher to student ratio is about 12 to 1. And so, and not even give or take that number, because I know that even in elementary school or middle school or high school, whatever grade you're in, that's just an average for all pre-K to 12th grade, so you might be able to just have more one-on-one time with your teacher, more one-on-one time if you struggle in maybe a certain subject like math or reading. They're able to really help you understand and get through that in school, rather than you just kind of passing on through. And there's about 588 students throughout the entire school, and that includes pre-K to 12th grade. So as you can imagine, class sizes are going to be also smaller. So if you want that smaller class size, and more of your one-on-one teacher, the teachers are really going to get to know your kiddo, get to really understand what they struggle in, what they might need more help in, so I think that a lot of people love that. A lot of people love that they can count on their teachers to really understand their kiddo. Also too, athletics, yes, they have a football team, yes, they have a basketball team, whatever sport, yes, they have all of that. And so you can still play sports in this school as well too. It's just not going to be like your 5A schools that you would see, in your bigger cities. Okay, another pro, let's talk land. Land, of course, is something that a lot of people want when they move to Lubbock. They don't want to be stacked on top of their neighbor. But I don't mean just a half-acre lot. These lots are going to be about a 1 acre all the way up to 5-10 acres, really depending on what you're wanting. And so I just wanted to kind of talk about some of the land prices so that you had an idea of what's going for sale right now. Of course, don't hold me to it. These prices do fluctuate, but as of right now, you can buy a 1 acre lot as low as $50,000, and Cooper Creek is one of the developments I talked about in my last video. It's a developing neighborhood that is up and coming in new home. Right now, I think there's one home in Cooper Creek that I think I just saw about listed. But other than that, you can build barndominiums. A lot of people love barndominiums here in West Texas. Or you can build a home with a barndominium shop, which is just a metal building. So $50,000 for about a 1 acre. And then you can go to a different neighborhood and you can buy like a 5 acre lot for about $75,000. And there's not very many of the $75,000 5-acre lots available. Again, like I said, there's just not a ton. There's not like there's hundreds of lots just sitting on the market right now in new home, because it is growing. People are buying a ton. There used to be obviously a lot more in the last few years. After COVID, people wanted lots and it just skyrocketed. And then also too, put a note, you can also, there's 6.5 acres right now that is for sale. There's a few of them, not very many. They're about $140,000 for 6.5. It's a little bit higher than what we just talked about. So it really just depends on the land that you're wanting. But most of these will all have wells and septic already. They all have great utilities. They all have great electricity providers, internet. I mean, you get internet. It's not like it's the booties. But you do all of the lots I'm talking about now, you'll be able to have all of these things. Again, there is talk about annexing in maybe the city water. We'll see. I don't want to get too much into that, but so they're typically on wells. We'll always have a well test on anything. As of right now, these wells that I'm talking about are in good standing. However, that can always change, but just want to talk about, wanted to mention you will be able to have electricity and all the things. And then also too, there's like 20 acres for about $200,000. So it just really depends, like I said, on what you want and what you're looking for in your family. And if you want to build, maybe some tiny homes on different sections of your land, you want a whole family to live there with you. There's all different reasons. So just want to talk about some prices and why people love living in new homes, is because you can live on land. So the last thing I want to talk about too is that you are on the side of town that's growing. You're not on the side of town that's not growing, so you will be close to all of the things that Milwaukee inside has to offer, anything that Wolford has to offer, all of the shopping and restaurants. It's like I mentioned, it's not that far away from the south side of town. That's why I wanted to put it as a con, because it is growing, it is expanding, and you are going to have a lot of the commercialized development over the years. But as of right now, New Home is still such a small town. It's, like I mentioned, there's no grocery stores or anything, but it is really cool that you can be within 15 minutes from the south part of Lubbock, because you really have everything you need right there. Awesome restaurants, awesome grocery stores, shopping, whatever you need, honestly, is really, and then that new hospital that's being built. So they are expanding, like I mentioned, so it's pretty cool to be living, quote unquote, in the country, but also close enough to the city where you can really go and grab something if you're okay with it taking 30 to 45 minutes. So I hope that you know a little bit more about New Home, Texas. It is, like I said, just a town that is growing because it is on the growing side of Lubbock. It's on the south side of Lubbock. So there are many, many, many great things about this town, and we'd love to show you if you're interested in lots, or if you're interested in new construction or existing homes, if you want a bar, whatever you want, we'd love to see and show you what's available in New Home. And if you have any questions about anything that we talked about today, definitely please let me know. So I'd be more than happy to talk with you about that. And other than that, if you like this video, definitely hit that subscribe button and like it, so that way you can be up to date with all things living in Lubbock, Texas. And until next time, we'll see you around.